I tell everybody, I say this pretty much epitomizes Deshaun Watson because he is a dragon slayer. You slayed college football, just like that. Summarize winning this national title.
Just, no one's giving the respect, even this year, even last year, no one, all the success we had, no one really kind of gave us the cue to have that respect. And now, after we take down the king, we get that respect.
Dragon Slayer, Throne Taker, whatever you want to call Deshaun Watson, the label fits. This is a rookie that over the last couple weeks has had two of the most impressive quarterbacking performances in the history of the Houston Texans organization, and we're only 4 games into his career. This kid went blow for blow with Tom Brady, the greatest to ever do it, and never flinched once. 1 week later, the red-hot Tennessee Titans came to town for Watson's first ever home start, and he promptly took out all of his frustrations by systematically annihilating them. Even I, as the most optimistic, homerific Texans fan in the world, did not expect Watson to put on this good of a show this early in the year. Even going back to watching him in the preseason just 6 weeks ago, Watson is an entirely different quarterback. You can look at the preseason breakdown I did on him to confirm that. He was erratic and tentative at best. Maybe it's the fact that the Texans are actually game planning during the regular season and that's helping in his preparation. Maybe it's that he's getting first-team practice reps with the starters now during the week. Or maybe it's just that he plays better when the games actually count. But whatever it is, something clicked in the last 6 weeks, and that transformation has the potential to turn the entire AFC on its head. First and foremost, when you watch Watson play, it becomes immediately apparent that his legs might be more important than his arm. The Texans do not have a good offensive line at all. They gave up 10 sacks to Jacksonville in week 1 for a reason. But Watson's mobility is helping to cancel out that bad offensive line, sort of in the same way that Russell Wilson's mobility helps to compensate in Seattle. The amount of sacks that Watson escapes and turns into incompletions to save yardage, or even get big gains out of him on scramble drills, is just insane. He saves the Texans so many yards and rescues so many drives with his mobility that sometimes I wonder if Houston would even score at all without him under center. I genuinely believe that the difference between 7 points in week 1 and 57 points in week 4 is Watson's athleticism. It brings an entirely new and necessary dimension to Bill O'Brien's offense that he's never had before. Houston is running quarterback draws from empty on short yardage situations, and they work. They're content to just spread defenses out, let Watson find the hole, and he moves the chains all by himself. They ran a speed option for a touchdown in the red zone against Tennessee. Again, another play call that O'Brien has never had the opportunity to do before because he's never had a quarterback that could make it work. All of these designed quarterback runs are ripped directly out of the Clemson playbook, and his legs are such a threat to defenses that they also indirectly open up the rest of the offense around him. Against the Titans, you could see how Brian Arakpo respected Watson's speed to the edges and froze himself outside to take away the keeper on the zone read. And by freezing just that extra half second, he prevented himself from collapsing down inside on Lamar Miller, which in turn gave a wide open lane for a 9-yard run. If your edge defenders cannot crash down against the run inside because they're too concerned with stopping Watson's speed to the edge, then that puts incredible strain on the interior defensive line as well as the inside linebackers to get off of their blocks immediately. It forces defenders to execute perfectly because they have absolutely no help coming from the outside. And that's partially why the zone read is so popular and so effective. Defenses are not going to execute perfectly on every snap, so eventually, no matter what, you're gonna pop some runs off inside. And it's not just Lamar Miller that Watson's mobility is helping. Because defenses have to account for 2 potential threats on the ground instead of just 1, play-action passes are that much more effective too. You saw that late in the 4th quarter against the Patriots where Watson ran what looked like a zone read, but it was really a designed rollout for a play-action pass to Bruce Ellington on a crossing route. And let's just go back a second to break this down step by step to illustrate what I mean by that. Trey Flowers is unblocked here on this run fake. He's what's called the read man. On a typical zone read, if Flowers crashes down inside on Lamar Miller, Watson keeps the ball and carries it himself to the edge for a big gain. If Flowers stays home and does not crash inside, then Watson gives the ball off to Miller and he has one less defender to worry about in his cutback lane, like what we just saw a minute ago against the Titans. Now, here's where that play differs because Flowers is staying home to take away the quarterback keeper, but Watson keeps it anyway. This looks like a bad read from Watson, and it looks like both Flowers and Landon Roberts, the inside linebacker, are going to be able to just corral Watson in space and limit this run to little or no gain. but it's not actually a run. It's just the threat of him running that's sucking in Flowers and Roberts up to the line of scrimmage and opening up the throwing lane behind them for the 18-yard gain. This was never ever going to be a run because the Texans didn't want it to be a run. They just wanted to creatively use the threat of the zone read to get a big gain through the air, and it worked. You see the Chiefs and Seahawks and Bills do this a lot, you obviously saw Clemson do it a lot, and now the Texans can do it too. When you have a mobile quarterback that can also be accurate on the run, the playbook opens up in new and interesting ways that you never really thought possible, and it's fascinating to watch. I think what's most interesting to me, however, is that with Watson under center, Bill O'Brien's short and intermediate passing game is finally starting to show its effectiveness. When he was the Patriots offensive coordinator, they were known for this sort of death by a thousand paper cut style of offense. In that offense, they would dink and dunk you to oblivion with tight ends and slot receivers and running backs, and only on occasion would they hit the deep shot for chunk yardage. Really, they lived in that 5 to 15 yard area of the playbook and were content to methodically move the ball down the field, and that's what we're seeing from the Texans offense right now as well. Deshaun Watson played a similar style of offense at Clemson where he was really more of a point guard in the short passing game, and if he wanted to take a shot, he would just throw it up to Mike Williams from time to time and let his huge catch radius do all the work for him. And speaking of Clemson receivers, he's kind of doing the same thing with DeAndre Hopkins now too. So it's a perfect blend of offensive philosophy with O'Brien and skill set with Watson. They both love dissecting defenses with rhythm and timing throws underneath and finding those pre-snap matchups to get the ball out quickly. And that is exactly what they did against New England and Tennessee. Lots of quick slants, speed outs, hitches, screens, snag routes, all those kind of timing throws. There was tons of play action passes to slow down the rush and open up those intermediate throwing lanes over the middle. Lots of bootlegs, lots of designed quarterback runs to keep defenses honest. It was all very meticulous and calculated, and you could tell that with every little paper cut these defenses received, they kept bleeding a little bit more and a little bit more until it was totally out of control, and that is when Watson would go in for the kill. I think my favorite throw he's made so far this season was his 12-yard touchdown pass to Ryan Griffin in the third quarter of the Patriots game. It was at the end of a 12-play, 70-yard drive that took 5.5 minutes off the clock and brought the Texans back within 1 point of New England. And let's just go through this one step by step so that we can really appreciate how damn good this throw was. The Patriots are showing man cover 1, and you know it's man because all the corners are on one side of the field against all the wide receivers, but the Texans are running a play that's designed to beat zone coverage, not man coverage. Lamar Miller and Ryan Griffin are running a flat 7 combo on the boundary side, while DeAndre Hopkins, Bruce Ellington, and Braxton Miller run what some refer to as a crush concept on the other side. Hopkins is the near slot receiver running the corner route, while the other two run dual quick in routes underneath him. This could work against man coverage if Watson just takes one of the end routes and gets the 5 yards and moves on, but he's thinking touchdown here, not check down. Houston has inflicted paper cut after paper cut this whole drive, and now he wants the kill. He knows it's a man defense, and he can see that they're doubling Hopkins with the single high safety, so Watson's thinking about what other mismatches he has available instead. Right now, his best and really only mismatch is the size mismatch with Ryan Griffin over Patriots safety Devin McCourty. However, Griffin, like I said before, is running a corner route against an outside leverage safety in man coverage. That route is almost guaranteed not to be open because McCourty would naturally be in a perfect position to undercut it just based on his leverage alone. As far as pre-snap looks go, this does not look promising for a touchdown at all. After the ball is snapped though, Watson does something really interesting to get a touchdown out of this play anyway. He gives a little glance at McCourty just to make sure that his leverage is still outside. Then he comes back to check the free safety, Deron Harmon, to make sure that he's still turned to double Hopkins, and that is when he knows he's got him. Even with the play call not being ideal against this defense, once the Patriots confirmed to him post-snap what he saw pre-snap, he's got the answers he needs to make the play. Watson lets this ball go and places it beautifully on Griffin's back shoulder for the score, beating what, to be honest, was a really good defensive play call from Matt Patricia. Just to put this in perspective on why this throw was so good against this coverage, Watson knew that Griffin was running the corner route, and he also knew that a corner route would not be open against an outside leveraged man defender, so he just didn't throw the corner. He threw a back shoulder fade instead and trusted that his tight end would see it and adjust to what was essentially a mid-play audible. He wasn't throwing to a route, he was throwing to a spot based on the leverage of the defense and trusting that his receiver would make him correct. That throw and that trust right there shows to me that the game is already slowing down for him. He's understanding defenses. He's understanding how his offense fits into those defenses and how he can manipulate safeties and use ball placement to his advantage to make that offense work even when the play calls are not entirely perfect. This is next level stuff that I did not expect from a rookie quarterback, let alone from Deshaun Watson, who just weeks ago looked absolutely nothing like the player that we see here. And of course you can say, oh yeah, well the Patriots defense is bad, of course he had good numbers. Sure, anybody could say that. But let me tell you this though, this throw right here would work against any defense and any personnel. There is no defense good enough in the world to stop a perfect read and a perfect throw. There just isn't. It's never existed. This was a perfect read and a perfect throw. Watson is the first quarterback that I have seen in Houston execute the Bill O'Brien offense to its maximum potential for an entire game. He's using DeAndre Hopkins like the imposing, chain-moving force that he's supposed to be. He's using his tight ends and running backs in space to rip off good gains and frustrate defenses that can't be in two places at once. And he's moving safeties with his eyes deep downfield and showing that he can still be a threat with the deep ball even if it's not his bread and butter. Every single level of this offense has started to click. But even in the moments when they haven't been clicking, Watson's athleticism and instinct as a runner has kept the ship afloat and allowed them more chances to get it right. I will fully admit that I did not think that Watson was a first-round type of quarterback before the draft. Personally, I thought he was more likely to go in that high second-round pick range that Derek Carr went in a few years ago, and for good reason. He had plenty of flaws in college, just like Carr did. But just like Carr, there seems to be something in Deshaun Watson that I don't think I gave enough credit to at the time, and that's his ability and his drive to improve. I have never, ever seen a rookie quarterback improve this much in 6 weeks. Never. And he still has a long way to go, don't get me wrong. I mean, the accuracy problems that I pointed out time and time again are still there to an extent. There were plenty of throws the last 2 weeks that were just flat out off the mark, but shockingly to me, even with his problems, his accuracy now is still so much better than it was just weeks ago. Carson Wentz and Andrew Luck and Cam Newton all started great in their rookie years and continue to be great, but I don't recall ever seeing a rookie quarterback start off borderline bad and then within just 4 games become unstoppable. There is zero precedent for what's going on right now, at least not that I can think of. There's bound to be some bumps and bruises and setbacks along the way here, possibly the Chiefs' very talented defense being one of them this Sunday night. But if Watson showed anything so far, it's that even with those bumps and bruises, he will bounce back and he will get better through adversity. I should have seen this coming, honestly, because getting better through adversity is all that Deshaun Watson has ever done. John Gruden was 100% right. This kid slays fucking dragons for a living and he's gotten really good at it. So now here we are in the same situation that Watson's faced over and over again. Prime time, under the lights, he's being asked to take a team that has been fighting and failing to get respect for years to topple an undefeated consensus #1 powerhouse. He's already been there. He's already done that. And now just 5 games into his NFL career, he might be ready to do it again. To any normal rookie quarterback, this weekend's showdown might be the biggest test of their career so far. But to Deshaun Watson, it's just one more dragon to kill. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. Obviously, I'm extremely excited for Sunday Night Football this week because we might be getting a preview of an AFC playoff matchup here. But I'm even more excited because once again, our sponsor, the BetDSI Sportsbook, is giving me and all of my viewers a free $25 credit to use in wagers this weekend. It is 100% at no cost to you, and if you win any bets with that $25 credit, any bet at all, you can keep all the cash for yourself or use it basically as house money to turn it into even more. Whatever you want to do with it, it's yours. Personally, the Lions have been my best friend these last 2 weeks when it comes to making money on games, and they've got another great matchup this week with Carolina. But there is no way that I'm not going to be putting something down on this Texans and Chiefs game. It is way too juicy, and you can join in on that too by just going to the link in the description and using promo code FILM25 to redeem your free $25 credit. And of course, I just want to thank all of our new Patreon supporters this week. You guys are just fantastic, and I cannot thank you enough for all of your support and your personal sponsorships to keep this channel up and running. Most of you have been here from the beginning, and I sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, later this week, I will once again have my picks video coming out for Week 5. I did better last week than I did in Week 3, but we're still trying to work on getting our hit rate up. These upsets have been coming non-stop so far this season, and I really almost don't even know who's good and who's bad anymore other than Kansas City and Cleveland. It's just been nuts, but that's why we love the game, because pretty much anybody can beat anybody, and that's what makes the NFL entertaining. So I'll be back later this week with more picks, and I'll be back next week with another full Film Room episode. Until then, later.